Hello, and welcome to my channel. I'm Margaret, and here I share real-life stories from my friends at the nursing home. I watched from the last row, while the woman who abandoned her at birth was walked down the aisle in my place. There are moments you feel your heart physically twist, like a rag being wrung out. It isn't loud, not cinematic, just quiet and cruel. That's how it felt sitting there, hemmed between a pillar and a woman I'd never met, holding a program that listed my name under special guests. Special. That's what they called the person who wiped her fevers at 2 a.m., taught her to ride a bike, stayed up all night during college applications, and spent 20 years putting someone else's dreams before her own. And now, here I was, an afterthought in a borrowed dress. I'm Marlene, 60 years old, retired nurse, former wife, failed gardener, accidental mother. The year I turned 39, my younger sister Danielle showed up on my doorstep with a duffel bag and a baby. It was raining hard. I remember because her coat was soaked through, and the baby, Emily, was wrapped in nothing but a thin fleece blanket. "I need to go," she said, eyes darting around like someone was chasing her. "Just for a while. Please. Can you keep her?" She kissed Emily on the forehead and walked away before I could say a word. I called. I emailed. I even tracked down a guy she'd dated in Austin. Nothing. Danielle had vanished, and Emily was mine in every way that mattered. I didn't get the court involved at first. I kept thinking my sister would come back. But when a year passed, then two, I filed for guardianship, then full custody. It wasn't complicated. No one contested. The state never found Danielle. I gave up dating. Not because I had to, but because I didn't want to bring anyone into that small, delicate universe I'd built for Emily. We lived in a 2-bedroom duplex with peeling wallpaper and a second-hand piano I could barely afford, but kept so she could practice. I worked double shifts for new braces, AP tutoring, a flute recital dress she swore she needed. Every achievement was ours. Every milestone was mine to witness, to cheer for, to weep over. And she loved me. I know she did. Until she didn't. It started the year she turned 25. She reconnected with Danielle through a social media message. One Sunday afternoon, she showed me her phone, fingers trembling slightly. "Mom, can I show you something?" She found me. My birth mum. Just like that. My name became a category. The other mum. "I just want to talk to her," Emily said. "For closure. To understand where I came from. That's okay, right?" Of course it was. I said all the right things. I even helped her pick a cafe for the first meeting. But something shifted after that. The way she looked at me. Less reverence, more reservation. The stories at dinner started including Danielle more often. Her eyes lit up differently. By the time she got engaged to Michael, a sweet but somewhat spineless man with 2 perfect teeth, Danielle had been invited to 3 holidays in a row, and I'd been uninvited from one. "Just a small thing with her side," Emily said when I asked about Thanksgiving. "It's complicated, you know." Yeah, I knew. Then came the wedding planning. "Mum," she said, drawing out the word like she was balancing it on a ledge. "I want you to be part of the day, but things are kind of delicate, with Danielle being back." I stared at her across the table. "What are you saying, Emily?" "You'll have a seat, of course, and we're doing a candle lighting ceremony. I'd love for you to light one." A candle. That's what I got. Danielle would be the one to walk her down the aisle, the one to stand beside her during vows. Because, in Emily's words, this is about healing and honoring all parts of who I am. I wanted to scream, to shake her. But I didn't. I nodded, like I always did, like I had done since she was a colicky infant and I was a woman barely hanging on. The wedding was beautiful: white peonies, soft jazz, fairy lights strung through oak beams. I wore a deep blue dress and a smile stitched from pride and heartbreak. Danielle, wearing a floor-length ivory gown just shy of bridal, walked Emily down the aisle on the arm that used to cradle heroin, if memory serves me right. They laughed like old friends, and I sat in the back row, program clenched in my lap, invisible. I didn't cry during the ceremony. I didn't cry when they danced to "Isn't She Lovely?", a song Emily used to sing with me while we washed dishes. I didn't cry when someone mistook me for a distant aunt and said, "You must be so proud of Danielle. What a beautiful reunion." But I cried in the parking lot, after the sparkler send-off, sitting behind the wheel with my coat still draped over my lap like armor. I turned the ignition and just sat there, headlights illuminating an empty white folding chair someone had forgotten to pack. For a long while, I watched it, feeling like it understood me more than anyone inside ever would. I spent the next morning with a migraine and a full trash bin of crumpled tissues. At noon, I texted Emily, "I hope you're happy. I love you always." She didn't respond for 2 days. When she did, it was a heart emoji. A heart emoji. After everything. I told myself not to overreact, that I was being sensitive, that she was on her honeymoon, and this wasn't about me. But that little red icon echoed louder than any speech Danielle had made that night, or any bouquet she caught. I began to replay things in my mind. Moments I thought were safe suddenly sharpened at the edges. The way she stopped calling me Mom and started saying Marlene when talking to Michael, as if trying it out. The way she hesitated when I offered to host her bridal shower. Danielle really wants to take the lead. She says it's important for bonding. The way she quietly moved the savings account I'd opened for her wedding fund into a joint one with Michael. She'd once told me, "I'd never touch it without asking you first." But when I saw the paperwork in the mail, the transfer already done, her name merged with his under a new bank logo, I knew. Somewhere along the way, I'd stopped being hers, or maybe she'd never been mine. I started avoiding mirrors. Something about my face felt unfamiliar, like it belonged to someone whose job was over. I shuffled around the house, still setting 2 plates at dinner, then quietly returning one to the cabinet. I turned on the TV and forgot to watch it. The silence was no longer peaceful. It felt like a punishment. Then came the favor request. 2 weeks after they returned from honeymooning in Santorini, Emily called. "Hi," she said, voice light, like nothing had happened. "We were thinking of doing a home remodel. Michael's cousin gave us a good contractor contact, but we're still a little tight on funds." I stayed silent. I mean, I know the wedding ended up being more than we planned, and I really appreciated your help with that. But if there's any chance you'd be willing to— "Emily," I interrupted carefully, "do you remember where that money came from?" A pause. I guess you just saved it over time?" "No, it was my pension. I took a buyout when I retired early to help raise you. That account was the leftover." She didn't respond. I could hear her breathing. "I thought it would be for your wedding. That was the plan," I said, holding my voice steady. "But things changed, didn't they?" "Marlene," she began, that name again cutting me like a dull knife. "This isn't fair. I didn't ask you to raise me. You chose that. You always told me love meant doing things without expecting a return." I closed my eyes. "I said that when you were 8, not when you were 30. Silence. Then, "I guess I shouldn't have called." Click. That was the last time we spoke for months. I could have called back. I could have apologized, tried to smooth things over, but something in me had started to shift. I found myself pulling out the boxes from the attic: baby shoes, recital programs, third-grade drawings that said, "I love you, Mom," in shaky pencil. I looked at them for a long time, then placed each one carefully into a donation bag. She had made her choice, and now I would make mine. I didn't rage. I didn't burn bridges or send accusatory letters. Instead, I did what I'd always done. I got quiet. But this quiet had shape, direction. It wasn't numbness, it was clarity. The next morning, I went online and removed Emily's name from the joint account I'd once set up for her and Michael's future home. A tidy sum, nearly $38,000, sat there. I transferred every cent into a new account under my name. I didn't send a warning. I didn't owe one. I also called the financial advisor I'd been working with before the wedding and cancelled the gift annuity I had been planning to surprise them with after their honeymoon. It had been small, modest, enough to help with a down payment. "Change of plans?" I said, when he asked if something was wrong. "Not for them anymore." He didn't pry, just nodded. "Wise move, Mrs. Hart." That night, I slept through the night for the first time in weeks. Days became weeks. I unsubscribed from Emily's Instagram account. I didn't block her. I wasn't angry. I was finished. But one photo still slipped through when a mutual acquaintance tagged me. Emily and Danielle, side by side on a couch, arms looped. The caption read, "Full circle." I stared at it for a moment, then closed the app. No tears. Just a hollow quiet I didn't fight anymore. That week, I took a walk through a part of town I hadn't visited in years. It was 20 minutes from my house, a little more lived in than when I last saw it. Paint peeled from fences, the coffee shop had a new name, but the community centre still stood at the corner, sunlight hitting its windows like a promise. On impulse, I walked inside. A few kids were sitting on beanbags in the corner, reading books. A teenager with nervous hands was playing the keyboard, softly, like he didn't want to be heard. A woman with curly grey hair looked up from the front desk. "Help you?" "I used to come here. A long time ago," I said. "My niece took art classes here when she was small. Thought I'd stop in." Her smile was gentle. "We're still doing those, actually. And music, and tutoring. We're short a few hands, if you're interested in volunteering." It was the first time in weeks I heard myself say yes, and actually mean it. I started going every Tuesday and Thursday. I wasn't teaching exactly, just listening, helping, being present. Kids opened up slowly, but they always do, eventually. I brought in extra snacks. I sewed patches on a boy's backpack. I sat with a girl named Vanessa while she sobbed after a call from a mother who kept forgetting her birthday. They started calling me Miss Marlene. One afternoon, after handing out granola bars, I overheard one of the coordinators mention they were looking for host families for a few teenagers aging out of foster care. They just need a safe place for 6 months. Someone who won't forget they exist. Something in my chest cracked open, not painfully, but like a door shifting on old hinges. "I might be interested," I said. She looked up. "You?" "I have a spare room, and I know how to show up." I filled out the paperwork that evening. It was a slow process: background checks, home visits, interviews. I was honest in everyone. "I raised a girl," I told the caseworker. "She's not in my life anymore. But I learned how to love someone who didn't ask for me, and how to let go." Eventually, they matched me with Tasha, a 17-year-old with guarded eyes and hair she dyed a different color every month. The first few weeks were stiff, silent. She never took both earbuds out. But then she saw the keyboard I still had, the one I bought for Emily long ago. "You play?" she asked one evening, hovering near it. I used to listen more than play, but I could learn. We played together that night. Just one song, but it was enough. Tasha stayed. Not just in the physical sense, but in the way that mattered. She began to open, slowly. The first month, she barely left her room. The second, she started cooking instant noodles in the kitchen while I made tea. By the third, we were watching old sitcoms on the couch, sharing a blanket neither of us acknowledged. "I'm not great with people," she said one night, her voice barely above a whisper. "I raised a teenager," I replied. "I'm immune." She cracked a smile. Not big, but real. I took her to her school counselor's office once a week, waited in the car, never asked questions. She started writing music, scribbles on napkins, old receipts, the back of store flyers. One night, I found a scrap of paper on the floor that read, "She's not my blood, but she's the first home I've known." I never mentioned it, just tucked it into the drawer by my bed. Around that time, Emily reached out again. It started with a package, no note, just a plain cardboard box on my doorstep. Inside was a wedding photo, me, blurry and half-turned, in the back row. But tucked behind it was a letter. "Marlene, I'm sorry. I don't even know if I have the right to say that anymore. I've been selfish, blind. Michael says I've been looking for something that was always there, and I only saw it once it was too far behind me. You were never a placeholder. You were the beginning. You're the reason I even know how to love someone. I don't expect forgiveness. I just hope you know that I see it now. All of it. Thank you for raising me. I was lucky. I still am, even if I forgot it. Emily." I read it 3 times. Not in tears, just quiet. It didn't undo anything, but it softened something jagged. I didn't respond. Not right away. Instead, I focused on Tasha. We painted the spare room together. She chose a moody teal. "Looks like a bruise," she said, grinning, "but like a healing one." When her birthday came, she told me no parties. So I bought her a single cupcake, stuck a crooked candle in it, and sang off-key until she rolled her eyes. That night, she handed me a drawing, charcoal on sketch paper. It was me, sitting on the porch, reading a book. My face was soft, a little sad, but strong. At the bottom, she'd written, "You see me? I see you too." No card has ever meant more. Then, in early spring, something shifted. Emily called. I let it go to voicemail. She left a message. "I know I can't erase what I did. I just wanted to tell you. I'm pregnant." I stared at the wall for a long time after that. Pregnant. Would she want me there? Would she want Danielle in the room? Had she already decided? Tasha walked in, saw my face, and sat down beside me without asking. "You okay?" I passed her the phone. She listened. After a beat, she handed it back. "Do you want to call her?" "I don't know." "Then don't. Not yet." I didn't. But I didn't delete the message either. Weeks passed. I started thinking less about what I'd lost, and more about what I'd gained, what I was still gaining. Tasha got accepted to a local arts program. I cried. She pretended not to see. That night, we sat on the porch with mugs of chamomile. The stars were out. The air smelled like rain on concrete. "You know," she said, "you're the best almost mom I've ever had." I laughed, then teared up. "I'll take it." The first time I saw Emily again, it wasn't planned. It was early summer. I had taken Tasha to the city library for a scholarship essay workshop. While she was inside, I strolled through the park across the street, where families dotted the green spaces. Toddlers in sun hats chased bubbles, and couples napped beneath trees. That's when I saw her. Emily, 8 months pregnant, belly round under a cotton dress, sitting alone on a bench. Her hands rested on her stomach as if protecting something fragile. Her face looked older, tired, but not unhappy. I froze. She spotted me before I could turn away. Her mouth opened. "Marlene?" I gave a small nod and stepped forward, cautious, as if one wrong move would shatter the moment. "I come here a lot," she said, gesturing vaguely. "The baby likes the movement. Or maybe I just need the distraction." I sat down. Not too close. We didn't speak for a long time. Just watched the ducks skim across the pond, the breeze lifting pollen into little golden swirls. Then she said, "Danielle left again, a few months ago." I turned toward her slowly. "She said she wasn't ready to be a grandmother, that she didn't want to make the same mistake twice." Emily's laugh was sharp, bitter. "She disappeared. Again? History repeats, right?" I didn't respond. I just let her sit with it. "I keep thinking about what I said, how I acted. I've had a lot of time to unravel it all," she said. "Michael says I might have to grieve someone who's still alive. But the thing is, I think I grieved the wrong person." I looked at her. Really looked. Her eyes, so much like her mother's, but softer. And finally, filled with something I hadn't seen in years. Regret. "I'm not asking for anything," she added quickly. "I know I don't deserve a place in your life. I wanted to say it to your face. That I'm sorry. And that you didn't deserve any of it." I let the wind carry that between us for a while. "You're right," I finally said. "I didn't." She nodded. Tears welled in her eyes, but she didn't wipe them. "But," I added, "you were also a scared girl trying to find her roots. I get that. I really do. I just wish you'd remembered who watered them." That broke her. She wept quietly, shoulders shaking. I didn't reach for her. I let her feel it, let her finally hold the weight I'd carried alone for too long. After a long pause, she whispered, "Would you ever want to meet the baby? When he's born?" I didn't answer right away. Instead, I asked, "Why?" She blinked at me. "Why me now?" "Because," she said, "you're the only one I want him to grow up trusting the way I should have." I sat with that for a long, still breath. "I'll think about it," I said gently. And I meant it. Not as a door slamming shut, but not swinging wide open either. I left her there, not to punish her, but because I had somewhere else to be. Tasha's essay workshop had gone well. She held up a notebook with scribbled pages, her face lit with hope. "I wrote about you," she said in the car, "about what it means to be raised without blood, but with care, about how sometimes mothers show up without labels." My throat caught. "You okay?" she asked. I nodded. "Just proud." Later that month, we had a small celebration when she got the scholarship. Just her, me, and a cake that said, "You did the damn thing," in blue frosting. We danced in the kitchen. She played the keyboard. I clapped offbeat. For the first time in a long while, the joy didn't come with ache attached. Then, one evening, a letter came. From Emily. Inside was a photo of her son. Wide eyes, chubby fists, and a short note. "His name is Milo. He has your ears, and I hope, someday, he'll have your patience too. No pressure. Just love." I placed the photo on the mantel, next to a charcoal drawing of me on the porch. Tasha's. 2 children, 2 lives. One walked away, one stayed. And me? I had learned something no one ever teaches you. Motherhood isn't a transaction. It's not always a reward system. It's a choice made in 100 quiet ways, again and again. Emily was part of my life, but she wasn't my whole life anymore. I had built something new. Now, on Sundays, I sit on the porch of my little bungalow in the nearby town I moved to. It's smaller. The garden's thriving. Go figure. And kids from the centre sometimes come by to help plant herbs. Tasha visits on weekends from her campus and brings stories of professors who don't understand teenage trauma and friends who still think she's too serious. I make tea. We laugh. I don't know what will happen with Emily. Maybe I'll meet Milo. Maybe I won't. But I'm not aching for it anymore. I'm not bleeding out trying to be remembered, because I was a mother. Just not to the one who forgot me. But others still need one, and I'm right here.